Welcome to the Early Morning Light Podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Early, and on this podcast, I share life-changing tips, tools, information, motivation, and inspiration to bring light to your life as you tune in week after week. And as always, I'm so excited that you've chosen to tune in this week. I've got some exciting stuff to share this week. I've got a topic that I want to talk about that's always been near and dear to my heart, kind of a pet peeve in some ways. And it's in the area of customer service. My wife and I are coming back off of a short trip up to Pennsylvania near Lake Erie. And it was just a good time, just a few days of us just hanging out and enjoying each other's presence, just away from everything, just relaxing. It was a good time. But while we were there, I had a couple of experiences that were different in some ways and in some ways similar. And they were, all three of them that I'm going to reference were customer service experience. And if you know me, if you've been out with me somewhere, or you and my wife knows definitely, you know that I am kind of a stickler for customer service, to the point where it's an area that I sometimes need to work on, showing more grace for people. So part of this episode, I'll talk about a situation where I needed to do that, and I was able to do it when the service is it starts off not so good. I don't want to say bad, but not so good. So I believe that when it comes to customer service, that it's not just about the product that you are providing to the customer. I believe that customer service, when it's good, you are creating an experience for that customer that makes them want to come back, that makes them want to continue doing business with you, or to come back to do business with you again. And some businesses do this really well. Some are average, and then some are really bad at it. And I think we sometimes accept that, what I call poor service at times. And I'm not sure that that's helpful for that organization or that business, that we just kind of accept that. I think we probably need to provide more feedback to some of these places. But anyway, I remember Maya Angelou had this quote where she said, basically, I'm going to summarize it a little bit, that people will forget what you said and people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Let me say that again. People will forget what you said. They'll even forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. I think that's just profound. When I think about customer service, I believe that people come back to do business, obviously for a great product, because the product is good. Or in this situation, in all three of them, it was food and drinks, that the food or the drinks were good. But ultimately, it's also, if they're going to come and dine with you again and spend time, it's because the experience was good. So in this particular situation, we had three separate trips to three separate establishments, two restaurants and one winery. And, actually the first experience was at the restaurant. And remember, we walked in to the restaurant and the atmosphere was great. I mean, it was on the water, the lake, it was bright. They had indoor, outdoor seating. They had this really nice, elaborate bar. They were fully staffed with servers who were there to assist as you needed. So great atmosphere. The seating was great. The energy in the place initially was great. But then as time went on and we got our menu and, we were reviewing the menu and we placed our order, the service was just average at best. I mean, the young lady wasn't super attentive. I mean, she came by a couple of times and she wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything that created an experience that made me feel like I was a valued customer in that place. I was just one other person. The food I remember I was just waiting until we finished because my wife and I ordered two separate things. And I was waiting until we left to kind of check in with her to see what she thought. We often do that, just ask opinion on the food. And I remember I looked at her and I said, "What did you think?" And she was like, "It was all right. It was okay." I mean, and then she went on to talk about the presentation of it, the portion sizes, and how it was just average. It sounded better than it was. They didn't have a whole lot of options for food to choose from, and the food was just average. I mean, just at best, it was average. Service was average. Atmosphere was pretty good, pretty nice, but the food was just average. So chances that we'll revisit that place are pretty slim, pretty slim that we'll go back, because the experience that we will remember, the way it made us feel to be there, is not something that'll bring us back. So then we go to the next morning, another restaurant, which was for breakfast or brunch. And it was actually a place that we had been to before, which is why we went back. But we couldn't really remember specifically because it'd been a few years, like what the experience was. But there was something that made us want to go back. Catch that. So we go back. And we walk in. It's a really small place, limited seating, but there was a spot for us. The people greeted us at the door with a smile. They took us to our table. They engaged with us the whole time. They smiled. Every server that walked by looked at us, smiled, and greeted us. I mean, our servers served us, but everyone, even the manager, who seemed to be the manager, walked by. She checked in with us throughout the meal. And the food was great. I mean, it was brunch food, and I'm a big fan of that. It was just great. The food was great. The presentation of it was great. The service was great. The atmosphere was great. And we walked out, both of us agreeing that it was just an overall great experience, and we agreed that we would definitely go back. In fact, we almost went back the 2 days after that as we were preparing to leave, but we didn't. But two distinctly different experiences. One, just average. The experience was just average or less. So we'll probably not go back. The other one, we will always remember the experience that we had, and the product, the food was good, and they had multiple choices. So then in the third situation was the winery. So we went to this, winery that we drove about 30 minutes to this place. Really nice drive, down along the coast of the lake. And we get to the winery, we walk in, and there is a lady in front of us who we were in the front, like near the register. And there was one lady working the winery because we were going to do a kind of the wine tasting thing. But there was a lady who wanted to purchase a T-shirt because they had some products sitting at the front by the register, as businesses do. Nice place. We walked in. So this lady was looking for a T-shirt, and she asked the lady who was working there about a size. And her response was what I saw is very rude initially. Something to the effect of, and I hate when people say this in service, all we have is what you see there. That's all. Those are the only sizes we have. We don't have anything in the back. That's all we have. And I remember it just came off as just rude. And the lady who was purchasing the shirt found a way to, reframe that in her mind. And she waited patiently and until the lady that was working rang the person in front of her out, and they resumed their engagement. They continued to engage. But I remember walking back to the table. She kind of explained to us where to sit and how, the process of the wine tasting, and gave us a table to sit at. So we go back, and she eventually comes back, and I had to go to the restroom. So I go to the restroom. My wife is at the table. I come out of the restroom, and the lady who's working the wine tasting comes over to our table, or she's actually at the table, and my wife had already began engaging with her. And I could feel the shift and the difference in the engagement. She was totally engaged. She was nice. She was answering questions. She was joking and laughing. And as she walked over to another table, while we were deciding on the lineup of tasting, the wine tasting, my wife looked at me and said she had checked in with the lady, and the lady explained to her and apologized and said that, it had just been a really busy hour. She was the only one there. And it's just like a really busy time, and that she was really apologetic. But which was fine. I mean, there was grace to be had there. And for the rest of that experience, it was great. She engaged with us the whole time. We laughed, we joked. She shared a little bit about her family and the history of the winery, and made suggestions for other places to visit. And I mean, it was just a totally engaged experience that we won't forget. Now, I had to demonstrate a little bit of grace initially to get through that initial interaction with her. But after that, the experience was something that we'll never forget. So 3 separate, distinct situations. 1, great atmosphere, average food, average service, not a great experience. Probably won't go back. The other one, great experience, great atmosphere, great food, great engagement from the servers. We'll definitely go back. The other one, the winery, started out a little rough, but eventually became a great experience that we won't forget, and we'll go back because of how those last 2, of how they made us feel. We felt like valued customers. We felt like they were intentionally engaging with us, and that we were important customers to their business. So I say that to say, if you're someone who works in service, which we all are at times, always be aware of not just the product you're providing, but the experience that you are creating for the people who you're serving, because that is what people remember. It's not any individual thing that you did. Now, we'll remember some of the things that happened on these experiences, but it might not be anything specific that you said. Like, I can't tell you exactly what either of the people said in the 2 good establishments, I would say, but I remember the feeling of the experience that I had in both of those establishments, and we will go back. So I say this to you to say, always be aware. If you're in any service business or you're providing a product, just be aware of the experience that you're creating, because that is what brings people back. People remember, and they will continue to support your business, your establishment, if the experience is right. That's all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in to the Early Morning Light podcast. I look forward to sharing more light in future weeks of the Early Morning Light podcast. Talk to you soon.